in this video, you're gonna see Jake Tapper press, his name is Chris Coons, I think, about Biden's mental health. So this man's basically gonna try to gaslight you and he's gonna tell you some untruths. So let's go through and let's see what he has to say when surprisingly CNN is pushing a Democrat. So let's get into it.
Let me just ask you, do you truly think that President Biden is the strongest candidate to take on Donald Trump in November?
I think Joe Biden, two things, is the strongest, most accomplished president we've had in my lifetime.
Not the question.
That he's been counted out over and over.
Wasn't the question. Okay, first off. And second off, let's rewind that just a little bit. I want to hear this again.
I think Joe Biden, two things, is the strongest, most accomplished president we've had in my lifetime.
No.
He's basically going to use COVID numbers to try to justify this. That's the only possible way he could make these justifications, right? It has to do with something around COVID or manipulating a national global crisis to Biden's benefit to say something like this.
Not the question.
That he's been counted out over and over and over, and he can go to the stage and say, here's my record. I, in my speech at the inauguration, said I would bring Congress together and we would address infrastructure and manufacturing, and we would reduce prescription drug prices, and we would invest in restoring our competitiveness as a country, and I would bring us out of the pandemic, and I would address the challenges that I inherited from Donald Trump, and he's done a magnificent job. He can say that. The other candidates, governors of different states and so forth, can't say that.
He's talking about inheriting all these problems from Donald Trump. Is he talking about the problems from a global pandemic? That Democratic policy played a huge part in affecting that global pandemic? He's not going to talk about that at all. He's going to manipulate you and make you think that Trump just left Biden with a huge mess, that Biden just had to get everything right and get it. That's not the reality. That's not the reality. He's trying to put Trump down so he can make Biden seem much bigger and better than what he actually is.
His vice president can say she was a central part of that. And I do think that makes for an important argument. And this is the core thing I think you're trying to raise here, Jake. He needs to reassure folks with repeat performances in public that he is up to this task and address the core question you're asking me. I have not seen evidence that our president is not up to the task of running for and continuing to serve as president.
Don't believe your eyes. Don't believe what you see and hear. Believe him. Trust me, bro. Trust me. Your eyes are deceiving you. They're lying to you. I'm telling you the truth. Okay. Look at Jake. Look at Jake. Look at Jake Tapper's face. This says it. This says it. Look at his face.
So that's something that is up to our president to prove to the public in the coming weeks. And I'm accepting that as an open question and a challenge. But I do think he has the strongest record in his first 3 years that any of us could imagine. Just last month, our economy created more jobs, in no small part because of President Biden's leadership, than it did in the whole 4 years that Donald Trump was president.
Manipulating the ever-living crap out of COVID. So what he's doing is he's taking, because during COVID knocked off all the jobs that Trump added to the economy and more. 60% of those jobs were lost in Democratic areas, and Democratic policy played a large part in that. He's not going to tell you that. So Trump actually lost more jobs over his presidency than he added because of a global pandemic. He's not going to tell you that. I looked it up. They added 200,000 jobs last month. Okay, cool. Nothing out of the ordinary or too crazy. I think before COVID, Trump had added I think it was 13 million jobs over his 3 years. So at the end, towards the end of his term, a global pandemic happens, economy shut down, people lose their jobs. So since he lost, right, technically since Trump lost all those jobs, technically what Chris Coons is saying is not wrong. But he's manipulating the COVID situation to make you think Biden is doing something extravagant. In addition to that, the vast majority of Biden's jobs are just recovery jobs from jobs that were lost during the pandemic. The vast majority. I think it's over 80% of those jobs that have been added to the economy are just recovery jobs. I really think it's 90%, but I'm being safe when I say 80. So again, he's building up Biden into something that Biden is not. But again, they're preying on low information voters. He says some things like that, and you're like, oh gosh, Biden's did so much better than Trump. No, stop.
Joe Biden has the strongest record. We have the all-time high in the stock market, all-time low in unemployment.
They do not have an all-time low in unemployment. If you go to Google right now and Google U.S. unemployment rate, you're going to see it spike up from COVID. You're going to see it come back down, and then you're going to start to see it. You know, I'll just show you. I'll pull it up here. Look. So we look here. Okay, you'll see this is when COVID happened. It spiked up. It came back down. Now it's rounding and trending back upwards. It's trending back up. Okay, this whole time it's been trending. If you look throughout Trump's presidency, you got to know what, 2016? The entire time it's trending downwards. There's not a rounding formation. This is called a rounded bottom, is what it's called. There's not a rounded bottom to where you see unemployment start to round and trend back up. The only other time we saw this happen was before the 2008 crisis. Okay, so unemployment is trending upwards under Biden. He's telling you it's the lowest of all time. It's not the low, unless it just fell off a cliff randomly without anybody knowing. It's not the lowest of all time. But again, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm crazy, but what we're looking at here is showing us unemployment is trending back upwards. So anyway, after exposing that lie, let's get back to what else he's talking about. Let's see. Again, Jake Tapper, he's not buying it.
We have crime going down. We have investments in manufacturing.
Crime, a lot of major areas, New York, LA, a lot of different cities are not reporting it, so that's debatable.
Going up. We are headed in a strong direction, and he's got a great platform to run for re-election. He is not the only Democrat who can run for president. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but he has the strongest record to run on.
He has given few.
Sorry, real quick. Again, the strongest record. We have to depend on, because what they're doing is there's something called the reversion to the mean. I'm going to show you what this is. And what they're doing is they're using the reversion to mean and they're giving Biden credit for something that was going to happen naturally. So let me find a good example here. Okay, this should work. Let's pull this up here. All right, so you got the mean reversion. So look here, okay? You see the straight line, this black line here? This is the mean. And then you see the blue line, it goes up and below, up and below. So here's what happened. COVID happened, everything fell off a cliff, and it went way away from the mean, okay? So naturally, jobs are going to recover. Naturally, the economy is going to recover. So what he and Democrats are doing is they're giving Joe Biden credit for all this natural recovery that was going to happen anyway. So they're saying Joe Biden's so great and all this because he basically oversaw a natural recovery because he was handed a beautiful situation. He came in towards the end of a pandemic when everything was starting to recover. So yeah, reversion to the mean, they're taking advantage of it and trying to manipulate you into thinking Joe Biden's doing things that he's not doing. Anyway.
Fewer press conferences, fewer interviews than any president in modern history, including the previous one, who's now running for re-election. And this could all be.
And the previous one told more lies per sentence than any candidate has ever told on debate stage.
This is not the discussion that we're having. We could certainly, have that conversation. I certainly didn't particularly care for it when President Biden said no U.S. service members had been killed in the previous 4 years. But moving on from things that were said that were not true, I think it is easy to settle this right now by President Biden going to the Brady Press Center, the press file in the White House, and doing a 2-hour press conference.
Yes, unscripted. 2-hour press conference, unscripted. I'd love to see him do something like that on X with Elon, completely unscripted. Because I want to see Joe Biden off script. That's what I want to see. I think I'm not the only one that wants to see that. I think the world would like to see that, but I think people like him know not the best idea if we want Biden to seem competent. Having him off script where he has to answer questions on the fly and actually think and he can't be prepared for what to say, I don't know, we don't know, but let's see what Chris Coons has to say about this.
Everybody would cover it live. Networks probably would cover it live. He'd answer all these questions. It's not a crazy thing to expect a president to do. And the fact is, that. The campaign knows that. The White House knows that. That's how you settle this. You just put him in front of reporters, and he handles himself with acuity, aplomb. We all see it was just a fluke. Oh my God, I can't believe it happened, and we move on. The fact that you haven't done that says quite a bit to me.
Jake, what I've just said maybe 3 times in this interview is that is what I am urging and recommending. I think that the Biden family had a long scheduled family retreat at Camp David where they had a family photograph taken and they were discussing both this debate and the summer and their plans. And I'm encouraging them to add something like that to the schedule.
Notice he didn't say there because Jake's talking about them doing it. He's saying, yeah, I'm recommending it, but why aren't they doing it? Like, let's get them doing it.
Whether it's a 60 Minutes interview or something at the podium at the White House or
A 60 Minutes interview, no, something that he can prep for.
town hall, that's not up to me to decide, but that's what I've been encouraging our president to do.
Democratic Senator Chris Coons from the small wonder state, Delaware. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so anyway, I just find it interesting how, and if you pay close attention, if they start talking about Joe Biden having amazing numbers, in a lot of cases, they're manipulating something to do with COVID. He's the best in history with this or the best in history with that. They're manipulating that reversion to the mean that I'm talking about. If they're talking about jobs or he reduced unemployment so much, no, he came in with unemployment on the way down. He came into an already recovering economy and is taking credit for what was already going to happen. Do not let them lie to you. Anyway, that's all I got. I will see you guys in the next one. Y'all stay safe. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm out.